Hello, and welcome to this Sunday stream where we are going to be working on Coppice. Unfortunately, I could not make it yesterday because I had some family stuff to take care of. So the next week or so is going to be a bit all over the place in terms of streams because I've had family stuff to take care of and I have work stuff, contract stuff to take care of. So I had to miss yesterday, so I'm making up for it today. And unfortunately, there will not be a stream tomorrow either, as I'm going to have to be focusing on contract work tomorrow, shifting some days around. Now, depending on how well the week goes, that may lead to either a full day of work and streaming on Thursday, or it may be the week after there will be 3 days of streams. It's just having to swap contract days around to help deal with the client and get things worked there because there's some pressures on there. So unfortunately, at times like this, Coppice takes a bit of a backseat because most of the money comes from contracting. So I have to shift stuff around, but should hopefully still have all the streams. So, not things flying off my desk. How is everyone today? How are your weekends going? How is your Sunday? It is a rather nice Sunday afternoon here, and I've already been doing some work today myself. I've actually got some of the things that we were going to be working on done, so we could get some more interesting stuff on stream. So I will be taking a look as we swap over. Have a look here, and our bills and run. Good to know you're doing well, really. But yeah, a few more weekend days would be nice. I mean, it's fairly nice for me usually having, because I alternate between 3 and 4 days a week contracting, so I have the rest of the time to do stuff around the house, to get my shopping done and work on my own apps. It's just unfortunate that I have to go back to having a standard 2-day weekend. Oh, woe is me. This weekend because, well, contract work. They need me on Friday and they need me on Monday, so we'll see how things go. But I've actually got something I can show, which is what I was working on earlier. So let's come over to here. Now, what we worked on Monday, that long ago, was getting cropping working with rotation. So if we crop down here and we rotate, we'll see, okay, that all works well. But what about hotspots? That wasn't working. Oh, this morning I got that working. So if we draw ourselves some hotspots, I'm going to have a hotspot that goes from there to there, there, to there, and to there. Oh, that to there. If we rotate, our hotspots now rotate. And if we start cropping down, if you see we've got a hotspot there, and a hotspot there. If I were to say crop halfway up here, the hotspot down here gets hidden. Now you can still edit it there. We've still got the crop there. We can move this down. And the hotspots here have vanished, but this hotspot has now shifted to the correct place. And it all works with rotation. So all of our stuff, our hotspots, our cropping and our rotation now all work together, which is great. So the question is, what are we doing next? Well, as you can hopefully see from our task list, is we're getting onto some of the Coppice Pro features. I mean, the circle and polygon hotspots are already Coppice Pro features, but some more features you'll get is image auto-linking and image searching. But for those to be a reality, what we need to do is get OCR working. Now, I've never used this API. I can't even remember exactly which framework the API is in, but I'm pretty sure Apple has an API where you can pass it an image and it will give you back not only the rectangle, but the text inside that rectangle. So what we're going to do is investigate that. Starting from scratch, like I say, I'm pretty sure this API exists. I have no idea where it is. I think it's in the Vision framework, but it may be in some other frameworks. But yeah, we're going to look into this and add some machine learning to Coppice. And what the ideal thing would be is that, for example, if I was to get rid of these hotspots, drop this. Right, here we've got image pages and text pages. And I imagine that was just text page and image page. What it would do is it would detect, okay, there's text here for text page, there's text here for image page, and it would auto-link those. It would automatically create a hotspot around here and link it to that page. And if you rename the page, then it would remove the link, just as it works for text. The other thing is, it could index all of the text in the image, and we can store that on an index so that you can actually search and have images appear, show the text. So let's see what we have. And to do this, what we're going to do is go to developer.apple.com, go to develop, and have a look at some documentation. And it's at this point that we need to work out where exactly we need to look. I can't remember if core image contains some of this, so we'll have a look in there. I don't think we want core ML, because core ML is for building your own stuff. I think this stuff is already built. In fact, I've just had a thought. Oh. Okay. So apparently AV Foundation has some stuff. Events. Don't think on the image stuff. Nothing to do with media. The Objective-C runtime, how I miss you. Such fun to play around with. AutoKit. I'm pretty sure what we need is vision, but I'm taking a look through all of these just to see. So the speech framework could be interesting for later, because at some point I would like to add audio and video to Coppice as page types. So a speech framework that can get the transcripts could basically do a similar thing as what we're doing here. So that's something useful to note for future. Right, vision kit. Yeah, there's nothing else. So we'll look at vision first. Oh, locate and demarcate rectangles, faces, barcodes, and text in images using the vision framework. So vision handles still-based image requests using the image request handler. Images override special image with orientation in mind. Okay, so we may need to store orientation for this, but you will see that's going to be easy enough to store. Oh, that's convenient. We can pass a URL in, so we can pass the actual image on disk potentially. Vision made that set ways updates. Set down features if it assumes the wrong orientation. So we create a request with our image, our orientation, and our options. Okay. Have a detect request. Choose from the request, pass them rate to request handlers. So you create your handler, create your request, pass them in, and there's a billion whether it succeeded, results in error, or it's obviously written before Swift. Check the results property. Or get it in there. For example, some uses facial recognition and that landmarks boundary rect to locate feature and draw rectangles around them. Okay. So what we will probably do... This seems pretty simple, which is what I was looking for. So let's have a look at how image linking currently works. We see how... sorry, not image linking, text linking. So we know that the text linking, you can select some text and you can actually just go and it will like add a link manually. But it will also auto-link if you've got Coppice Pro. And for that, here we have a text link finder, which in an attributed string with pages and ignored pages, it will go in and it basically gives us a diff of links. So all the links that we need to add and need to remove. So it ignores anything that is already a manual link. It knows stuff where links would overlap. It tries to find the longest matching link. It ignores certain pages, such as a page no longer links to itself. And it tells you whether it's something that's been added or is existing, and so on. Now each page should have its own text link finder. Or rather, we create one for each page. This just creates it fresh. I mean, you actually store anything? That could technically be a static. No, we don't actually store anything, so that could just be a static function. Theory, all of this could be. So maybe that's something that we can do in future. This all works just fine for now. But essentially what we have is we have a page link manager and a page link controller. So each page has a page link manager and the page link controller basically handles all these. So when a page is added or removed, we'll set up the page link manager, and basically everything just should work just fine in theory. And what the page link manager does is we're observing the page for any changes to its content, and when changes do happen, we reparse, we go through the reparse stage and basically go through, get our text links and add them. Now the key thing is here, and this is something that we probably don't need for the image, is self.current text storage. If there is a text storage object set on it, which is usually when it is being edited, when this is the current page, then we'll go through one path, and when there isn't, we'll go through another path. And this is because if we have text being edited and we're updating this, we don't want to just swap it out from underneath. We want to actually work with NS text view to correctly update it in the text view. Whereas if the page isn't open, it's easier just to update the content directly. Especially as that means that we don't need to open the text view to do the editing. Now for an image, this is going to work differently, because with text, when we're adding the links, we are actually inserting the links into the content. But with an image, we don't change the actual image, we just change the hotspots. And the key thing is we only need to change that when the image changes. So we should be good when we change crop, when we change rotation and so on. That should all be fine, because we can find everything in that image and all the cropping and stuff is already handled for us by the code we've already written. So yeah, effectively what we can do is we just have it detect everything in the image and we should be good, in theory. So what we probably want is, right, so we've got a page link manager. Maybe we want to rename this to text page link manager. Now for a separate image page link manager. We can have our root page link manager, because that just needs the page ID, the model controller, and is pro enabled. Right. That passes in the page link manager there. Our page link actually. Yeah. Which means used here. Here we go. Update page link manager. Set the delegate, we set the text storage. Okay. So ID. Have a page. Oh no, we do get the page there. Have a look at page content. Have the page there. Now we'll just have to cast this when we get it out. So let's refactor this to now. I'm going to rename this. Text page link manager, and then we're going to create a superclass for page link manager. Create a new file. As NS object. In it with page ID. Model controller. Name this text page link. And it fails because of course refactoring fails. So. Okay, build. If that sorts it out. Okay. Page link manager. Delegate. So we're going to do this the old-fashioned way. Right. That should all be working now. Okay. Then what we're going to do here parsing delay. No, we don't want on superclass. So we'll get rid of these and that. Get rid of those. Page link manager. ID model controller. Oh, that's just a straight model controller. We're using the protocol, not the actual thing. That makes it easier to test. So we've got a page link manager. Right, can we make this optional? Suppose we could just return a basic page link manager. Manage. Need it to be optional anyway because we need to do a cast. Delete page link. Page link manager. View model. Make this optional. As page link manager. Because these are just going to be a generic page link manager. However, we're still going to do text page link manager here. For now, because that is all we have. Now let's create our image page link manager. This is one thing I will love when I get my new Mac Studio. I pressed enter there several seconds ago, but because I'm launching here, my Time Machine backup disk, which is a hard disk, has to spin up before the Finder will appear. And when I get my Mac Studio, I'm switching my Time Machine disk to an SSD, which should hopefully, fingers crossed, solve all of those problems. So we want image page link manager. We'll add that in, and this is going to be a class image page link manager, which is a page link manager. And what we want to do here, make that page link manager, and we're going to do which page.content.content type case.text page link manager, page ID, I've got model controller. So that should all hopefully work fine. What we're going to do is we're going to add our model collection model controller, be a model controller. Super init, our page ID, and our model controller, and then stuff.observer equals stuff.model controller dot collection our page.self dot add observer. Right. So we want two separate things. We want private our set needs rescan, private bar set needs repass, or set needs generation. So what we're going to do is going to scan an image, and we're going to store all that. I'm going to store the rect and the text because we need that for searching. And the thing is, that shouldn't change until the image changes, and that's going to be the more intensive. However, when the title changes, we want to go through those, and we may want to add and remove hotspots. But that's going to be a lot simpler to do because we're just saying, does this text appear? If so, make this a hotspot. If the text no longer appears, we're going to remove it as a hotspot. So if change.object.id is equal to stuff.pageID, and change did update content once self set needs rescan. Oh, private func, not var. Turn, and that should be optional. Then we want to check that either the change type is not equal to update, a page has been added or removed, or the change updated title, or the change updated allows auto linking. So scan the image for text, its content was updated, set the hotspots if a page was added, deleted, or has title or allows auto linking. Changed. Okay. So the rescan is going to be do a vision scan for text, save on page content. Going to be do a scan the page content text, add, remove hotspots. Okay, I'm going to take a short 5-minute break because there's something I just need to do, and when I get back we'll get started seeing if we can get this working in Vision. Because what we're probably going to do initially is just have it scan for text and add hotspots at all text, because that should let us visualize that it's doing what we want. Once that's working, then we can add the stuff where we selectively add and remove the hotspots. So I will be back in a few minutes. So see you then. I am back. So it seems my little Vielo tube avatar has failed, so let's restart that. Thanks for the follow, Control Alt Delete. Alright, let's get my character appearing again. Fortunately, I have to resize this manually because my script to do this does a lot of other stuff too. That should be close enough. There we go, my hotkeys are working again. Hey. So welcome to the stream, Control Alt Delete. Hope you're enjoying things, and let us know how you are in chat, and if you're up to anything fun this Sunday. I actually have something to share with you on the stream, because there's something very interesting I was just reading, which is this article here. Unsurprising weak references. Now, it's talking about weak references in various languages and how to do it in the Veil programming language. However, it goes over how both Objective-C and Swift do weak references, and I've learnt some things which will be interesting to share. So for Objective-C, basically how weak references work is there's a global hash map for all the weak references in your app, and whenever you create a weak reference to an object in Objective-C, it has to create a global lock and do all the hash map operations to actually store that weak reference. Now, it has some advantages. One of the big ones is they managed to hack it onto a language that was in no way designed to have weak references, but it has all this functionality there, but it is something where they are actually extremely slow in Objective-C. It's really fast to check them, it's just really slow to create and destroy them. Swift, on the other hand, when you create a weak reference to something and you deallocate the last strong reference, the object sticks around, it doesn't get deallocated. So apparently with Swift, it has a counter for strong references and a counter for weak references. And when the strong references counter gets to 0, which is roughly equivalent to the retain counter in Objective-C, and it does actually use the Objective-C approach for compatibility reasons, but if you're pure Swift, it seems that the object will be deinitialized, so the deinit will call and everything will be cleared out, but the object will still be allocated. And apparently, it is only when the last weak reference is removed that it actually deallocates the object. So this is quite interesting because if you have a lot of weak references, it can potentially be useful to nil out those weak references, because your objects stick around. So that's something I never knew, and it's something to take into account of if you have something where you're using lots of weak references and potentially have a lot of memory intensive stuff. Yeah, it doesn't give up the memory. I mean, it's very fast, and there's some pros and cons here, but it's weird because you end up with these zombie objects. I believe it goes through C++ and Rust, which is quite good. I haven't actually been able to go through the rest of this yet, but apparently there's a new thing that they've implemented for this language, Veil, which is meant to be using the generational reference, which I'm assuming the whole point of this is that we get most of the benefits, but we don't have the disadvantages of these. So, but I figured that was quite an interesting article. So if I paste it in chat in case you want to have a read of it later, but I figured I'd share that on stream because I did not know either that Objective-C did a global lock for weak references or that Swift kept those references around. But knowing that could lead to some interesting, some rather interesting stuff in terms of performance. Meanwhile, we get back to working on some machine learning fun. Yeah, that is an interesting point. They could have made it just like an NS Zombie. And I would assume if you're subclassing from NS Object, it might do that. And if you're dealing with an NS Object, it might do that. Because Swift is obviously having to use both. I suppose one of the reasons why they wouldn't do it... Actually, no, because you can't have a weak reference to a struct. So it's only classes. I wonder if it's because Swift is so much more heavily based on the compiler. Maybe they can't do as many tricks like that with pure Swift code. Maybe it has its own penalties to be able to do that. I mean, it does make me wonder if it deinitializes, does it actually, for example, nil out this property, or does it just code a dinit? That's the thing to consider, because in some cases, it probably doesn't nil stuff out. Like if you have a pointer to an NS data and it isn't an optional, how does it clear that out? And it does make me wonder whether that is potentially part of the cause of some of the KVO issues I see with Combine, where you have to explicitly de-init Combine. Combine publishers that are using key value observing. If you don't explicitly cancel them in some circumstances, it leads to the KVO hanging around, which it shouldn't do. It should automatically be cancelled when everything is cleared out. So there's lots of things there to consider, but I thought it was just a rather interesting little article. It's always fun learning about these things. Yeah, KVO uses strong references, however, if you're using combine, then when a combine cancelable gets deallocated, it should call cancel on itself. And if you have a KVO publisher and cancel is called, that basically does the remove observer stuff for you. And the problem is that sometimes, and not always, but sometimes if you do not have an explicit call to cancel and init for these, you end up with it like it hasn't called remove observer. And it's kind of confusing why that happens. I've never seen it in several other projects, but it happens quite frequently in Coppice. Now, I do use KVO a lot more in Coppice because it's a bit easier to do than at published. It gives a bunch of benefits, but it's one downside. And it's one of those things that makes no sense, because if the cancelable is being correctly deallocated, it should be calling cancel, which should be cleaning up the KVO, but it doesn't. So I don't particularly know. Anyway, get back to this. So set needs rescan. So what we want to do is actually do some work on vision. Go to image page content. Right, so we have, and then this image. So let we're going to let our CG, no, we need to get our page content. So God let page equals self dot model controller. Now the reason we're storing not the page object, but the actual model ID is because if you delete and add, then you get a new page. The benefit of having the model ID stored is that we always get the correct thing. Now, if for some reason the page has been deleted, doesn't exist, but the link manager still exists, then this will exit early. If someone then undoes that, it will come back and actually work. So, the Garlet page equals self.modelcontroller.collection page.self add observer, no, not add observer, object with ID, I say now page ID, and when that fails we're just going to turn, but what we also want to do is we want to ensure that page dot well, let image content equals page dot content as page, no, page content. Once we get our image, we do our CG image equals image content dot image dot CG image rows rect nil nil nil. That gives us a CG image. At some point I'll probably want to create just a straight CG image extension that calls this. So it's a bit easier to translate between Mac and iOS, but when I get around to starting work on the iPad app, there's going to be probably a whole stream where I basically just go through and, for example, swap out NS image for something that is platform agnostic. Right, so we've got our CG image. So at this point, want our image request element to be a VN image First hand. Port. Vision. So we want our CG image. Want up, and then we're just gonna put that in there. 'Cause I'm actually curious. Oh, the image option. Oh, drop and scale. So I could probably get rid of that. Alright. Request completion handler. And request. Oh, and a rest progress error. Right. Oh no, that's a progress handler. We don't want the progress handler. Completion handler. Right. Don't care about that. Care about. Oh, get different revision. X. It's cool. Yeah, all sorts of different algorithms. You'd hope that they wouldn't need to update the text algorithm that often, because you would hope by this point detecting text is good. But then again, the question is whether they're using the same algorithm for live text, or whether they've got a new algorithm they're using for live text, and maybe they'll make it available to us in the future version. So if it is the same algorithm, I'll be pretty happy with that, because live text is certainly an incredibly useful thing to have. Okay. So image test handle dot perform detection request. Actually, this should be user initiated because whenever we're doing this, it's because the users change the content. Actually, no. They'll have rotated it. Verify. No, that's an optimization thing, preventing it from rescanning after they rotate. That's something that we can optimize later. So, image request handle, form request. We want try match request. That the error. Let error equal error. And completion. Request. That's always set. Get the result. Oh. Okay, so you detect the text rectangle. Recognize text request. Okay. Okay, so we don't want that. We want recognize text request, and that does have revision. Okay, so then we get our VN next observation, which is what far did it in quest quest next request. Quest dot so for result, quest dot results. For resulting results. Can we do this as a work? Then we're going to iterate through all of our results, and what we're going to do here, result.top candidates for let's do 4. Top. No, that. Our candidate. Oh, above. Recognize text. So we're going to let plus let's just throw it in. So if we get the bounding box, we're going to print out bound. That's string. confident in that box dot station. Let rect. Now we get a bounding box. Box dot bounding box. Otherwise, oh. Let's see if all of this VN West has no member. Right. Oh. Did update, not did updated. Box. Oh. Oh, takes. Okay. Oh, go. Dot. Oh, really, it should be start index to end. Right, what's failing there? Quality of service, not good. Okay. Let's delete all of these else here. So we're pointing to page manager, and then hopefully that compiles. One more. And then we want page link controller. And then we're going to have this occur at the moment when actually wait. Controller. create that. Yeah, we don't actually need to do it until we actually display an editor. We don't. Oh, do for image pages because we need it. We need it to scan. No, we only need to do that once. We only need to do it. That'll be done as part of the migration. And then it only needs to be done again if we change. So for now we will just focus on this. So page link controller, page manager for self.page as image page link manager. And we want to go in model. Manager, pass that into there. And then for now what we're going to do is self.pagelink-manager. We're going to temporarily make that public so we can call set need scan. So when we load this, we should do a scan. Hopefully we should either get errors or get candidates found. Instead, we get a build failure because we haven't self-agent manager manager. I am sorry, I was muted for some reason. So you probably have not heard any of what I have been saying. So yeah, I've been playing around with this. So it all seems to work fairly well. Like if I build and run this again, and now that you can hear me, we can have a look through this again. So here, it detects download Coppice. It is the first thing it finds, but it has a 50% confidence in it. It has 50% confidence in all of these, but those are wrong. If I go here, full confidence in download. Here, download Coppice for free from coppiceapp.com. 0.5%, that is pretty much perfect. Helvetica, it has a 0.5% confidence besides, except for being right. Helvetica New Air gets it right, 0.5% confidence. Here, default font we get, that's 0.5. 0.5. Linking, that's correct, but auto-detect page titles is not. But if, for example, I go to Paragraph Inspector, paragraph, correct. Now that's a 0.5. That's a 0.5. That's a 0.5. That's a 1. So, this works really well. It just does not have confidence. Neue. Right, so Helvetica Neue, again, 0.5. Regular matches 13 point finds it. The AA there, it finds it. Coppice logo. It's finding an E with 100% confidence. There's no E in there. And then here we're finding a bunch of like accented characters, EBR8 and so on. Again, there's decent confidence in these. Oh, the confidence isn't reversed because, for example, text page, it's finding with 1.0 confidence. Image page, so 1.0 means it has full confidence. 0 means it has 0 confidence. The thing is, it seems to be very accurate. It just does not seem to be very confident in how accurate it is. So that's why I'm saying, if you get a 1.0, then we could say if you're if we take out any characters that are not like alphanumeric. So, for example, here where we find I equals or semicolon equals, we'll ignore those. But most of these we will actually pay attention to. And what we'll say is, if you are 1.0, like your full confidence, then we're going to say you have to be at least, what, 2 characters, maybe. If your confidence is like 0.5 or above, you need to have at least 4 characters. Now, what that does mean is that ones that will get through that shouldn't is this one here. ELEE. That will get through. But that only becomes a problem if someone actually has this as a page title, or someone has this as someone searches for this. But literally in all of these, that is the only one that would actually fall through. I mean, let's take a screenshot of this, switch to Coppice, drag this in. Sample code 1, detecting objects in still images 1, locate and demarcate rectangles, faces, barcodes and text in the images using that Vision Framework 1.0, download 1.0. It has pretty fantastic confidence in stuff. So, the thing is, what languages does it detect in? English, Chinese, Portuguese, French, Italian, German, and Spanish in the accurate and fast does those. Even though I don't have this localized, and I actually had someone this morning email me asking if I'd had an Italian localization, and unfortunately I had to say no, primarily because localization takes time and a lot of process stuff, and I do not have the time or the process stuff. I know how difficult localization is when you're working in a big company, how hard it is to get right. So I do not have the time and resources at the moment to get that done, but I see no problem why we couldn't support all of the text recognition, because if people are typing into Coppice, maybe the UI is in English, but their page titles are in Italian and the images they're putting in are Italian. So I think we can certainly do that, but I think this is good. So what we're going to do is get string without punctuation and white space. If confident, what's odd is it only seems to do confidence of 1.5 or 0.3. I'm presuming there are more, they're just going to be rarer. Then again, if I remember from doing my natural language processing stuff from university, it probably isn't too surprising. So if confidence is 1.0, allow 2 characters. If confidence is 0.5 plus, allow 2 plus characters. Otherwise, ignore. I think that should capture us pretty much for everything, because that seems to be working pretty spectacularly well. The only failing of it is it's finding stuff that isn't actually text, but we've only had a very few cases where it has considered those to be high confidence. Oh dear. Oh, I wonder if that is why. I've just been looking at my iPad and I've just scanned across to Twitch and realised, oh, the clock seems to be stuck at 9:41 AM. Is that just the Twitch app and they've done something wrong? Just realised it's probably because it's plugged in and it's set up to do screen recording. So I'm assuming that is Apple detecting that it is technically recording the screen and doing the clever, it's always 9:41 AM. So I am wondering if if you get something like this, auto detect page titles, where it gets 0.5 and 0.5, and I'm wondering if it could be worth I want to go to this effort when it seems to be so accurate. I'm just thinking it could be worth like storing it. So in this case where it's like 0.5 but all these are like 0.3, I'd ignore those because they would never come through. But when you get multipled at a 0.5, whether it is worth storing them and then having an option where when it is an auto hotspot, the user can like choose which one. Like there'll be a drop down on there where the user can say actually it's this one and it will ignore the rest. Let's ignore that for now. That is something that we can do later, because that would just be a case of if we need to, we'll just re-index them when the user opens them. I rescan them when they open them. So, you know what? I was initially only going to do my usual 2-hour stream. But I think what I'm going to do is take a quick break just to fill up my glass of water. And when we get back, I think we're going to start implementing this to actually properly pull this out, make this into something proper that works in all of the languages that it supports. And then we are going to try and get this stored on the image, image content in a way that can be used for hotspot generation, but also for searching. So I'll be back in about 2 minutes. So see you in a sec. Okay, I am back. So let's get back into this. Once I just shut my door. Right. I have to say, stuff like this is why I do love Apple's APIs. I mean, this sort of image detection, this is something that I did at not the actual scanning the images, but just having the text and being able to detect it. That's like a university level project doing the natural language processing to be able to correctly detect, categorize, and so on words. And all stuff like this is just a few API calls now, and especially with Apple Silicon, is super fast. And it just literally, we've been going for 2 hours, and part of that was going through other stuff, and it's just a case of this works so well. Yes, I did remember to unmute. What I really need is something where, because I have my Stream Deck set up, where I now have an animated GIF that's flashing red when I'm muted. But what I really need is something that will appear in the middle of my menu bar, flashing when OBS is muted. Like, just taking up a strip in the center of the menu bar, and whenever OBS is muted, it will flash to remind me, so that whenever I'm looking at the screen, I know it's muted. I don't know if there's, even if there's something, I don't know, external or something. I just need something to tell me, or if there's something in OBS that, if it's detecting audio through the mic and you muted, it will put a, like, send an audio signal to your headphones, something like that. Because I'm getting much better at it, but I think it's just those few cases where I go and need to cough and I mute myself and I forget to unmute myself. The biggest upgrade was actually switching it so that when I'm muted it is a flashing red thing on my Stream Deck, because usually I don't miss that. Right, so let's give this a go. I think what we're going to do you have an image hotspot. What do we actually need to store here? We need to store the string Oh, that's an interesting point. So the problem is a bounding box. You almost want recognized text. Press, not VN, text, observation. Okay. So it supports secure coding. Okay. I wonder. So the problem we have, if I go down to recognize text. So if I bring up, for example, locate and demarcate rectangles, faces, barcodes, and text and images using the vision framework. Imagine that we had a page called rectangles. In order to get the correct, the actual bounding box is for the full text, but we want to be able to just get that small bit, which you can do with the API, bounding box for range error. The problem there is that yeah, so the problem is that we need to be able to get this in future because we've scanned this, and ideally we don't want to scan the image again until the image changes. The problem there is that if we just store the string and this bounding rect, then we can't get this bounding rect. Now, if it supports secure coding, how exactly am I saving? Because I know I'm saving out to a plist, but I think I'm just doing a standard plist thing. So what I want is model writer. Yeah, plist serialization. Okay, so what we can do is, as it supports any secure coding, what we should hopefully be able to do is encode, when we're saving this, when we're creating the plist version, we're just going to have an array of these recognized texts. And these will just be encoded to disk. Because all we're going to do is we're going to get the top candidate from here. We don't care about the other stuff really. We'll limit the confidence anyway. So I think what we will do is do that, because then we can extract that and we have the full, we have the string, we have the confidence, and we can get the bounding box. And this works across Mac OS and iOS. Good job, I noticed the fact that it works on 10.15 and plus, because we still need to support 10.15. Yeah, I think that is the way to go about this. We're going to have the dynamic public var just going to be an array of bn if it's just stored as data, that'll be encoded to the plist, and it should be properly encoded again later. We did set guard after as text is not equal to hold value, else return self did change. Oh, you've set up, yeah, so you've got your headphones basically monitoring your voice. Yeah, the problem there is I have the same issue as you, where the echo of my own voice, it's not just subtly confusing, it is completely confusing. I cannot hear my voice while I'm speaking because then I cannot actually speak. It is far too distracting. I did have that set up initially, and when I was trying it, it's just like my brain cannot hear me speaking what I am saying. Like, it would have to be coming back at like 0 latency, which is not going to happen. So it's something that I can't really do as a solution for the audio issue. I mean, it has been getting better over time. Like I say, I've got the Stream Deck flashing. One of the more recent OBS updates actually had it where when you mute an audio source, it's still displaying the actual levels. It's just grayed out, which is something. So if I look to my right, I can see the Stream Deck. Look to my left, I'm seeing my microphone in OBS. So, speaking of which, I'm hoping maybe this week, maybe the week after, I've written up a review of the monitor that I picked up, the 4K high refresh rate monitor, as sort of a comparison between it and the studio display. Now, I don't have a studio display, but what I do have, the screen you're seeing now, is a 5K iMac. And as the only real difference between the panel is the backlight's a bit brighter on the studio display, and almost everything else I have some form of comparison for. I've been sort of working side by side with a 4K display and a 5K display, and it's been a really good thing to see a comparison between the two, because I was worried like 5K displays are very expensive, 4K displays are a lot cheaper, but they're 4K rather than 5K. But it's been quite interesting looking side by side with them, with like what is currently my main monitor and has been for the past nearly 3 years now. Or is it more than 3 years? No, about 2.5 years at this point. Probably be the shortest time between Mac upgrades I've had, after the longest time between Mac upgrades previously. But having my new main monitor next to it, it's been quite interesting comparing and realizing that I can't actually see the difference in Christmas. Or rather, I can, I just have to really look for it. And when I'm just using them side by side, it's not that big of a deal. It does depend on, like, certain things aren't as crisp, but they're crisp enough. And kind of ironically, side by side, here you can see my all these small bits of text, and right next to it on the monitor on the right hand side is the Twitch chat. And ironically, probably because the text is just bigger on the Twitch chat, that text looks far crisper than this, despite this having far more pixels. But yeah, I've got a review coming out where I've taken like images at different distances. I've tried to record video of like the high refresh rate, because that's the key thing. This other monitor's high refresh rate. Now, unfortunately, my iMac can't run it at that speed, because, and it's a bit understandable, running a 5K display and a high refresh rate 4K display is a bit much. But when I get the Mac Studio and it's able to run it at the high refresh rate, oh, that makes a difference. Makes a huge difference. I mean, it makes a difference having ProMotion on the iPad. I'm assuming on the new MacBook Pros it makes just as big a difference. Let's see. You start up at close to zero latency, but after 3 hours the delay increases. Yeah, I do wonder about that. Whether that's an OBS issue or a Mac issue. I would assume it's an OBS issue because from what I understand, macOS is meant to be really, really good in terms of like latency for audio. From what I understand, it's one of the key reasons why so many audio engineers use macOS over Windows is because the Mac's audio system is designed for that sort of thing. So it could be OBS because OBS goes a lot more low level with stuff, so maybe it's just a drift there. Right, so let's get back to this. We're storing our recognized text here. So what we want to do is go to our image page link manager. So we don't really care about the errors. We'll leave this one in for now. I could really do with setting up a proper logging thing. I think at some point I may look into OS log and see what I can do there, because there's meant to be a bunch of cool stuff in there for in terms of like privacy preserving stuff, so it would be nice to look into that at some point. Right, so I'll select oh, this isn't a particular Swifty way of doing it, but the Swifty way is to use dispatch work items. But I am not opposed to using the Objective-C way to do things when the Objective-C way of things to do things is so much easier, which is why this particular code is so useful to me. Because I know Swift string is technically more correct. I know it is technically more precise. I know it handles certain things better. But NS string is just so much nicer to use. And similarly, I know you can use the dispatch stuff, but a simple perform selector after delay is a great way of limiting all this down. So at this point, I'm going to rescan image. don't need a... Oh, do... Oh no, the rest is there. So we're going to do that. That doesn't need to be weak because that would occur, and this sticks around pretty much the lifetime of the app once it's created. But as dispatch queue main asynchronous, because what we're then going to do is you're going to get results. Get our page and image content again to make sure that they're there. Then we go for our results. Map. I will do a compact map with del0.top candidates 0. Don't want words. First. Actually, that image content dot. Oh, that. That. Other things we want. Detection request. Recognition. Languages equal. That's annoying. What is it? If slash available macOS 11 But let's let's do the whole gamut of these. Section request, recognition is equals VN. First time having to have a separate thing for every single have for 3 different OSs. Oh, that's on the actual request. So that is for revision VN X revision 2. But that's going to have to be revision 1 because that is only available in 10.15. Why is that indenting? Okay, so we have our recognized languages in. I'm noticing this song has been on recently. Yeah, maybe this is what something that I will do in Streamline app is make it so that the shuffle is smarter and actually lets you say how frequently can a particular song appear, like how many songs or how much length of time must appear between songs being shuffled in. But for now, got a recognition languages. One. Quest Hamlet. Section. Quest. Okay. Yes. Oh, get a minimum confidence here. Yeah, really, that's one approach. The music will be playing through Streamline. I mean, the whole point of it is that you'll be able to have it dynamically reshuffle things, because you will have the concept of sections, and sections will say exclude all tracks that I have tagged with vocals, or exclude all tracks with beats per minute above 100, or whatever you want to do. Basically, set a section, give a predicate, and you can give either a start time or a length. And what the idea is you'll be able to have those appear at a certain start time throughout the stream, or you'll be able to have them appear when you press something. So, for example, when I do Be Right Back, if I maybe wanted certain songs to play on Be Right Back, then I could do that. But maybe you don't want it to just switch immediately. Maybe you want it where, okay, keep playing whatever song is currently playing, but then switch to the Be Right Back stuff that maybe excludes certain songs or includes certain other songs when you like from the next song. Or maybe you want it to happen immediately, but you want it to be a more seamless transition, so you could have it where it fades between. So there's lots of potential there for lots of things where it is basically just a music player, but it has a smarter shuffle, a smarter sense of control where you can have these sections in, a bit more control over the audio. I'm sure there's stuff out there that deals with that in a more advanced manner. But if you're just by yourself and you just want music playing in the background and it's sort of set it and forget it, and you want it to be hooked into your Stream Deck or to shortcuts or any other number of automation things as well, that's basically what I'm building Streamline to be. I mean, it's sort of why I took the name Streamline as the sort of the project name for now, in that at the moment it's streamlining streaming music. Why are we failing? Oh. Oh, Coco! Place that. Realize we can tick off first task. Oh, that. Right. Oh, bounding box. Dot. Point at men. Max men. Max. Min max. Now there will be a question of whether it's better having a rectangle or a polygon for this. It may be better for a polygon because the text may not fit into a standard rectangle, but we will see. Yeah, X and Y. Okay, get that, dot, text, 0 elements. Oh, yes. If you ask for the 0 top candidates, guess what? You're going to get 0 top candidates. That needs to be a count, not an index. Okay. Flipped in dot size dot 2x. Oh, this is looking promising. Next page. Page. Oh. I think that is pretty promising. So let's do some more stuff. What we want to do. Right. So if we recognize text.string dot replacing string that FA replacing got bounds, you got that, you got a range expression, character. What we need then is a string. Don't want string. I could have sworn there was a punctuation character set. Okay, so what we're probably going to have to do, recognize text.string dot separated by, want to do punctuation characters union with white space. going by that. Let me keep that. Then what we want to do, if recognize text dot confidence greater than or equal to, let's say 0.9. Dot count is greater than 2. If it's greater than 0.9, we want to guard that the count is greater than or equal to 2. Also return nil. If the recognized text dot confidence is greater than or equal to 0.5, then guard string dot count greater than or equal to 4. Let's return nil. So that should reduce a bunch of these stuff that isn't actually. So that's all correct. That is. That's not showing anything. That's showing everything. That's showing nothing. That's showing everything. But if we go to here, and that needs to be an else if. Because we want it to, if we're high confidence, we can have a lower character count that we're limiting by. So now that shows that. Oh, so that's showing. Oh, that's our ELE. That's fine. All those correct. That one goes away. That one goes away. Okay. I think we're in a fairly reasonable place. So let's finish off by writing our to-do. Do. Only create if contains page title, only bound range of page title, mark hotspots as auto so we can remove them and leave manual alone. Up rotation to well, code orientation and pass in orientation. Read initial value from EXIF if it exists. Mark hotspots as auto, and then polygon over want to be smart and use rectangle where matches. Are we nearly? Those are our to-dos. Yeah, I have managed to filter them out. So the way I filter them out is if the confidence level is 0.9 or above, then we say if you have 2 characters or more, you're good. We're going to consider you. Then we look here and we see confident. I mean, what we probably want to do is rather than have this in regenerate hotspots, we probably want to have this up here in process results. So we're just simply not keeping these results at all. So they won't be used for search either. So actually, we'll add that in to move above confidence code up to result processing. So basically, if we have a high confidence, we allow you to have 2 characters or more, and we'll treat you as good. If you have a confidence of 0.5 or more, we'll allow you to go through there. Actually want an else, just return nil at this point, because that will get rid of the low confidence. So it's basically, well, I'll type this in. Have high confidence, let you only be characters. Or characters. Otherwise, okay. So it's like the amount of confidence we have is reflecting how many characters need to be, because a lot of the ones that we need to filter out aren't actually things that it has got wrong per se. It's where it's trying to detect text where there is none. So if I build and run, so it was detecting something up here, but we're throwing that out because that is only, I believe, 1 character. It was detecting the letter E here, but we're throwing that out because even though it detects an E with 100% confidence, it's only 1 character. The only one where it's getting it bad is here, where it's detecting E-L-E-E. So it's detecting that, but the thing is, at the moment, we are just doing hotspots over any text it detects. We're not limiting it by the page title. So that's going to be the additional finger protection, in that it will only highlight these automatically if there is a page title that matches. So either the full text or part of the text. So that is what we're going to work on next time. As for next time, as I say, I do not know when that will be. For Streamline, I'm still hoping to stream on Wednesday evening and get a bit more working there. Though that does depend on how tired I am Wednesday. That could be pushed back. Thursday, again, depends on how much work I get done, because I'm having to do contract work Monday through Wednesday. So Monday is out. Wednesday is, hopefully, I'm not that exhausted, and hopefully I'm not having to work late into the evening on that one. But I probably won't know until a few hours before that stream whether or not that one's going ahead. And Thursday depends on whether I get all of the work done Monday to Wednesday. If I do, then Thursday I'm going to stream all day. pretty much. We'll do a morning stream, afternoon stream, may even do an evening stream to celebrate. And then Friday, again, it will be the afternoon stream, and might even do that as a longer afternoon stream. Might start a bit earlier, go on a bit later. And yeah, if Thursday doesn't happen, then the week after there'll be hopefully 3 days when I'll be streaming during the week. Plus probably the usual Saturday stream that week. So maybe 4 streams the week after. All depends on how contract work goes. It's all a bit up in the air. This next week so revolves around contract work and various live stuff. Unfortunately, Coppice and Streamline, being an indie dev, has to take a backseat to actually earning the bulk of my money, which comes from contract work. So until I can be earning enough to do this full time, it has to take a bit of a backseat. But there's enough flexibility there that it's just swapping days around. So hopefully I will see you at some point this week. It may be Wednesday, maybe Thursday, maybe Friday, it may be all 3. But until I do see you again, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend and a wonderful week ahead. And as always, happy coding.